So one of the important things to know about when you are integrating the voices of other writers and thinkers into your own writing is that all of your quotes and paraphrases need some context. So we're going to talk about quote sandwiches today. And I want you to imagine that I have invited you over to my house and we are all as a class going to have lunch, but unfortunately, I am just a poor teacher. So we are having peanut butter and jelly, but I don't have any bread and I don't have any silverware. So I am simply plopping down peanut butter and jelly on a plate to each of you. Now I want you to think about what you might think of me as a host. I would imagine that it is not a very favorable review. And I also want you to think about how awkward it is to sit with your classmates trying to figure out how you're going to eat peanut butter and jelly off a plate with no bread and no utensils, no fork, no spoon. So you're not having a very pleasant experience at my home. And that's very similar to what your readers will experience in your essay if you are just throwing quotes and paraphrases at them. Everybody needs some context. And often what we talk about as writers and writing teachers is that you need to create a quote sandwich so that your reader can actually consume this information in a way that is pleasant, enjoyable, and makes sense. So you want to take care of your readers. And you can do that by creating these quote sandwiches. So instead of just chucking a quote into your paragraph and assuming that your reader will know what to do with it, I want to talk to you about creating a quote sandwich by using a signal phrase as your first piece of bread, the actual quote or paraphrase as your peanut butter, an in-text citation as the jelly that makes it all sweet, and then finally following up with another piece of bread. So following up your quotes and paraphrases with your interpretation, analysis, examples, something that integrates those ideas into your own writing. So let's just do a quick review of signal phrases. Whenever you include a paraphrase, summary, or direct quote of another writer in your paper, you want to set up your reader to say, hey, coming up next is something that somebody else wrote or thought. While the quotation marks themselves will tell your reader this, you want to do a little more than that and use some words. So typically that's the name of the author, maybe something about the source that it came from, the publication perhaps, and some kind of context for it. We use signal phrases to mark those boundaries between your words and the words of others, to establish the authority of that person who is saying whatever it is you're about to quote, to introduce those quotes and paraphrases, to put them into context and to integrate them. And so again, typically a signal phrase is the author's name or something about the publication and some kind of verb of attribution. So something that says said or wrote. You could also use things like confirms or illustrates, refutes, comments, admits. So lots of possibilities there, and you'll see a list on your screen. So let's take a look at these. Is this a quote sandwich? So here's what we have in this student's paragraph. Science has always been a difficult subject for me. I actually failed Bio 201 last semester, so I want to know more about what I need to do to get a passing grade. Here's a quote which tells us, the quotation marks tell us that these are someone else's words. Students need excellent study skills and a strong work ethic in order to be successful in advanced courses. Here's the end of the quote. I also have trouble in math. Now you can probably tell that this is very much like just slopping peanut butter and jelly down on a plate and handing it to your reader. This quote has no context. We don't know who said it. We have no in-text citation at the end to link us to a works cited entry to find it ourselves. And it also doesn't have any connection to what comes next. So a better example would be this. Science has always been a difficult subject for me. I actually failed Bio 201 last semester, so I want to know more about what I need to do to get a passing grade. So the same first two sentences. Now let's look at this signal phrase. According to the science faculty at Front Range Community College. So now we have some context, we've established authority, we know that something is going to happen next that belongs to the ideas from the science faculty at Front Range. Here's the quotation mark to indicate that these exact words came from somebody else. And here's the quote, again, the same one that we saw on the previous page. Students need excellent study skills and a strong work ethic in order to be successful in advanced courses. So now we have the first piece of bread, we have the peanut butter. So first piece of bread is the signal phrase, peanut butter is the quote, and now we need to add the jam or the jelly, and that is our in-text citation. So notice this has the author's last names, which would be what we would find in the works cited entry for this particular article. So Ramirez and Wu, the two authors here, would show up in the works cited entry for this essay. But then this writer doesn't stop there. They actually put on the second piece of bread to make a complete sandwich for you as a reader, and she follows it up with some context and explanation and more details. She basically integrates it into her own ideas. So now that I know more about what it takes to be successful in these advanced science courses, I have decided to meet with my professor the first week of class to ask her about study techniques that she recommends for her class. After all, she should be an expert on being a science student. Then this student saves the topic of math for a separate paragraph. So there you have it in a nutshell, how to make a quote sandwich. I encourage you to do these in your argumentative essay that is coming up and in any essay that you write where you incorporate the voices of others.